Commander Park Hyun-woo couldn't sleep. Coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he kept staring at the screens in Seoul's Deep Space Communications Center. Something was wrong with the data. It's very wrong. "Sir, you need to see this," Lieutenant Kim So-young called from across the room. Her hands shook as she pointed at the quantum receiver. "The signal... It's impossible." Park walked over, his boots echoing in the quiet facility. Outside, Seoul's lights twinkled in the early morning darkness. Inside, humanity was about to receive its first message from the stars. "What am I looking at?" Park asked, studying the waves dancing across the monitor. "A transmission that arrived 3 hours ago." "But sir, it traveled faster than light." "Our physics says that's impossible, but the quantum signature is clear. It came from outside our solar system." Park felt his stomach drop. For decades, humanity had been listening to the stars, hoping for contact. Now that it had arrived, he wasn't sure they were ready. "Can we decode it?" he asked. "Already working on it." The signal contains mathematical sequences, prime numbers. Even what looks like our own periodic table. Someone out there has been studying us. The next 2 hours passed like a nightmare. As the translation software worked, patterns emerged. This wasn't random noise from space. This was a message, and it was meant for Earth. "Translation complete," Kim announced. "Sir, you're not going to believe this?" The holographic projector hummed to life, casting blue light across the darkened room. What appeared made Park step backward. A reptilian face filled the display, covered in golden scales that seemed to shimmer. For arms moved as it spoke, and its large eyes held something Park recognized immediately. Fear. "People of the third planet," the creature began, its voice translated into perfect Korean. "We are the Galactic Council, representatives of 47 civilizations across this arm of the galaxy." Park grabbed his chair for support. 47 alien species. The universe was crowded beyond imagination. For 3,000 of your years, our peoples have lived in peace. We are scientists, philosophers, artists. We have never known war as you understand it, but now... The alien's voice cracked with emotion. "Now we face extinction." The display changed, showing images that made Park's blood run cold. Massive mechanical creatures, each the size of a city, tearing through space. They moved like living things, but gleamed with metal surfaces and pulsing lights. "The Devourers, the alien," continued. "Ancient machines from the void between galaxies. They have awakened from eons of sleep, and they consume everything in their path. Planets, stars, entire civilizations will become raw material for more of their kind." Kim gasped as the images showed worlds being stripped bare, their matter converted into more mechanical monsters. "It's like watching cancer spread across the galaxy." "We detected your radio transmissions 50 cycles ago," the alien said. "Your world produces the energy signature of what we classify as a Class 12 death world. Such planets create the most dangerous species in the universe. We have watched from afar, terrified of making contact." Park understood. Two peaceful aliens. Humanity must look like cosmic savages. Species that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, and countless wars. Earth wasn't just a world, it was a forge that had hammered humanity into something hard and sharp. "But desperation has overcome our fear," the alien continued. "The Devourers will reach our core worlds in 6 of your months. Our defensive fleets have fallen. Our weapons designed for scientific research cannot stop them. We who feared you now beg for your help." The display showed star maps, coordinates, fleet positions, everything humanity would need to join an interstellar war. In exchange, we offer our greatest treasures, technologies that will lift your species beyond your current limitations. Faster than light travel, energy sources that could power your entire world, medical knowledge that could extend your lives for centuries. The transmission flickered, and the alien's face filled the screen one final time. "Please, we know you are warriors. But we know your history is written in blood and struggle. Help us, and we will share the wonders of the galaxy. Refuse and watch as the Devourers consume everything, eventually reaching your world as well." The hologram died, leaving Park and Kim in stunned silence. "Sir," Kim whispered, "what do we do?" Park stared at the dark screen, his mind racing. Somewhere in the void, mechanical horrors were devouring civilizations, and humanity, violent, stubborn, adaptable humanity, was the galaxy's last hope. He reached for his secure communicator. "Get me Captain Lee Minho at Strategic Command. Then patch me through to the UN Security Council. Wake them all up, sir. What should I tell them?" Park looked out the window at souls sleeping millions, knowing their peaceful lives were about to change forever. "Tell them humanity just received its first invitation to an interstellar war." Within minutes, secure lines crackled with activity. From the Pentagon to Moscow, from Beijing to London, humanity's military leaders received the same impossible message. The stars were calling and they were screaming for help. Captain Lee Minho arrived at the facility within an hour. His eyes read from being pulled out of bed. He watched the alien transmission 3 times before speaking. "A Deathworld species," he muttered, reading the tactical data. "They think we're monsters." Park nodded grimly. "Maybe we are. But right now, the galaxy needs monsters." Lee studied the star maps showing devourer positions. "These machines have never fought humans before. They don't know what we're capable of." "Then let's teach them," Park said. "Signal all world leaders. Humanity has its first interstellar war." The next 12 hours changed everything. Emergency sessions convened in every major capital. Military commanders who had spent careers preparing for Earthbound conflicts suddenly found themselves planning battles in the void, in underground bunkers. Beneath Colorado's mountains. General Yun Taejon spread alien star charts across tables that had once held maps of Earth. The enemy positions looked overwhelming, thousands of mechanical ships advancing on dozens of worlds. "They've never faced us," he told his staff. Every other species in the galaxy evolved on peaceful worlds. They developed science, art, philosophy. We developed warfare. His aide, Colonel Park Jin-soo, studied the Devourer fleet compositions. "Sir, these machines are designed for efficiency. They follow predictable patterns." "Perfect," Yoon smiled coldly. "Predictable enemies make the best targets." Across Earth, the machinery of war began turning. Factories that built cars received new blueprints for spacecraft. Scientists who studied medicine began developing ways to destroy artificial intelligence. Soldiers who had trained for jungle combat learned to fight in the vacuum of space. Humanity was going to war. And the galaxy would never be the same. The bunker beneath Nor had never seen anything like this. 2 weeks had passed since the alien transmission, and now the most powerful people on Earth sat in uncomfortable silence. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as General Kim Woo-jin walked to the podium. His dress uniform crisp despite the weight of what he carried. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kim began, his voice echoing off concrete walls built to survive nuclear war. "For the past 5,000 years, we have been masters of one art above all others: war. We have perfected the science of destruction, refined the tactics of survival, and learned to turn every disadvantage into victory." The audience stirred. Generals from America sat next to commanders from Russia. Chinese admirals shared tables with European strategists. Old enemies united by a threat none of them had imagined. Today, we turn that expertise toward the stars. Major Han Dejin stepped forward, her laptop connected to screens around the room. She had spent 14 days studying the alien data, learning about an enemy that defied everything she knew about life. "The Devourers," she announced, pulling up images that made seasoned soldiers shift uncomfortably. "They are not alive in any sense we understand. No DNA, no cells, no biological functions. They are pure machine intelligence, driven by programming, that cannot be reasoned with or bargained with." The screens showed mechanical nightmares. Each devourer was roughly ship-sized, but moved like a living creature. Metal tentacles writhed as they fed, tearing apart asteroids and converting the matter into more of themselves. "They have 3 functions," Han continued: consume, replicate, expand. Nothing more, nothing less. They feel no pain, show no mercy, and never retreat. They cannot be intimidated because they do not understand fear. Admiral Cho Dong-hyun, who had commanded Earth's small space fleet for the past decade, suddenly laughed. The sound was harsh in the quiet room. "Perfect," he said, slamming his fist on the metal table. "They're predictable. Machines follow programming, and programming can be hacked, jammed, or simply overwhelmed." The room exploded into conversation. Voices rose in a dozen languages as military minds began working. Colonel Park Myung stood at her table, spreading star charts across the surface. "Orbital bombardment," she announced. "We've been dropping rocks on our enemies since the Bronze Age. Space just gives us bigger rocks and better aim." Captain Lim Genesio, a former Special Forces operator, studied the Devourer ship designs. "Look at these hull configurations. They're built for efficiency, not defense. A boarding party could disable key systems if we can get inside." "Boarding?" laughed General Martinez from the U.S. Space Command. "You want to board alien robot ships? Why not?" Lim grinned. "We've been boarding enemy vessels for centuries. These are just bigger and uglier than pirates." The debate continued for hours. Tactical displays showed Devourer fleet movements while human officers planned counters. The peaceful galaxy had never seen anything like this, an entire species treating interstellar war like an engineering problem to be solved. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's leading expert on artificial intelligence, raised her hand. "If they're machines, they communicate through networks. Disrupt their communications, and they become individual units instead of a coordinated swarm." "Electronic warfare," nodded Colonel Kim Tae-hung from South Korea's Cyber Command. "We've been jamming enemy signals since World War II. This is just a bigger antenna." As the first day ended, President Nam Soo-jin took the podium. She was small compared to the military giants around her, but her voice carried absolute authority. "My fellow humans," she began, looking around the room at faces that represented every nation on Earth. "We stand at a crossroads. Behind us lies a world that has known war since the first human picked up a stone. Ahead lies a galaxy that has known only peace." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The Galactic Council fears us. Call us Death Worlders. Monsters born from a planet that tried to kill us every day. They are not wrong. We're the children of a world that taught us to fight or die." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. "But today we prove that monsters can be heroes. Humanity will not stand by while genocide consumes the galaxy. We may be young, we may be violent, but we carry something these machines will never understand: the willingness to sacrifice everything for what is right." The applause was deafening. Over the following weeks, Earth transformed. Factories that had built automobiles retooled their assembly lines for spacecraft hulls. Boeing and Airbus engineers worked alongside scientists from SpaceX and Blue Origin, designing ships that could fight in the vacuum of space. Dr. Kwan Ji-hai led the weapons development program from a facility in Nevada. Her team included experts from every military on Earth, all focused on one goal: how to kill machines that had never been killed before. "Electromagnetic pulse weapons," she explained to her team, standing before a prototype that looked like a massive gun. "If they're electronic, we can fry their circuits." Every robot has a weakness: electricity. The testing was brutal. Day after day, they destroyed mock-up targets, learning what worked and what didn't. Conventional explosives barely scratched. The Devourer armor samples the aliens had provided. Nuclear weapons worked, but the fallout would poison entire star systems. "We need something cleaner," Kwan muttered, studying the blast patterns. "Something that kills machines without destroying everything else." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Park Seung-min, a materials scientist, discovered that Devourer metal had a specific resonance frequency. Hit it with the right vibration, and the entire structure would tear itself apart. "Sonic weapons," he announced excitedly. "We can literally shake them to death." Meanwhile, Admiral Yang Soon-jo was building humanity's first interstellar battle fleet. The shipyards in Earth orbit worked around the clock, welding together vessels that looked nothing like the sleek alien ships they had seen. Human warships were ugly, brutal things. Thick armor plating covered missile launchers and kinetic weapons. They looked like floating fortresses, built to take damage and keep fighting. Pretty ships are for pretty wars, Yang told his officers. We're going to war with machines that want to eat the galaxy? Ugly ships win ugly wars. The crews were volunteers from every military on Earth. Marines who had fought in deserts, trained alongside naval officers who had commanded submarines. Pilots who had flown fighter jets learned to navigate in 3 dimensions without gravity. Captain Moon Hae-sung, former tank commander, found himself learning to captain a spacecraft. It's just a bigger tank, he told his crew. He pointed at the enemy and pulled the trigger. The training was intense. Virtual reality simulators showed them battles in asteroid fields and around alien worlds. They practiced boarding actions on mock-up devourer ships, learning to fight in zero gravity against enemies that never tired. As the months passed, Earth's transformation became total. Every television showed recruitment videos. Every newspaper carried updates on the war effort. Children drew pictures of human ships fighting robot monsters. The first battle fleet was ready 6 months after first contact. 50 ships carrying 30,000 of humanity's best warriors. They were armed with weapons that would terrify any peaceful species: nuclear missiles, kinetic bombardment systems, electromagnetic pulse cannons. Launch day came on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Yang stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Earth grow smaller in the viewports. His ship, the Inchen, was humanity's most advanced warship. Its hull bristled with weapons, and its crew was ready for anything. All ships report ready. For hyperspace jump, announced Captain Lee Youngji from the navigation station. Yang nodded. Around him, his bridge crew prepared for humanity's first journey to another star system. They were scared, excited, and determined. Take us to war, Yang ordered. The fleet vanished in flashes of light, leaving Earth behind. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity was about to announce its presence to the galaxy. The peaceful civilizations that had called for help were about to learn what happened when you woke up the monsters. Admiral Yang Sun-jo pressed his face against the viewport of his flagship, the Incheon, and felt his breath catch in his throat. The alien shipyard stretched before them like a metal city floating in the void. Massive rings rotated slowly around a central hub, each section the size of Manhattan. Docking bays glowed with blue light as alien vessels moved in and out like busy insects. "Dear God," whispered Commander Osuben, standing beside him. "It's like something from a dream." The shipyard was beautiful in a way that human engineering had never achieved. Smooth curves flowed into elegant spirals. Everything seemed to glow with soft light, as if the metal itself was alive. It was the work of species that had never known war, never needed to build anything ugly or practical. "Sir," reported Captain Kim Ji-won from the communications station, "the Galactic Council is requesting permission to come aboard. They want to see our weapons." Yang straightened his uniform. "Grant permission, and Captain, have Colonel Beak prepare a demonstration, something impressive, but not too frightening." 30 minutes later, the human officers stood in the Incheon's main cargo bay, watching as the alien delegation boarded their ship. The creatures that emerged from the shuttle made Yang's skin crawl, not from fear but from how utterly alien they were. The lead engineer was reptilian with golden scales and 4 arms, each ending in delicate fingers that moved like spider legs. Behind him came a creature that looked like a cross between an octopus and a flower, its tentacles rippling in colors Yang had no names for. The third alien resembled a walking tree, its bark-like skin rough and ancient. "Welcome aboard," Yang said. In the universal translator the aliens had provided, "I am Admiral Yang, commander of the Human First Fleet." The reptilian engineer bowed, a gesture that seemed natural despite his alien form. "I am Chief Constructor Vexstar of the Galactic Council. Engineering Corps, we are honored to meet the legendary Deathworlders." Young noticed how the aliens kept their distance as if humans might suddenly attack. He understood. 2 species that had evolved on peaceful worlds, humans must seem like walking nightmares. "Colonel Beak," Yang called, "demonstrate our standard infantry weapon." Colonel Beaconhouse stepped forward carrying a pulse rifle, humanity's most basic military weapon. It looked crude compared to alien technology, all black metal and sharp angles. But when he fired it at a test target, the results made the aliens step backward. The pulse rifle didn't just destroy its target, created a small explosion, sending fragments flying in all directions, to intimidate as much as kill. This weapon trembled Chief Constructor Vexstar, his scales shifting color from gold to pale yellow. It causes pain before death. Beak looked confused by the question. Of course, pain makes enemies retreat. Fear makes them make mistakes. Psychological warfare is basic military doctrine. The flower-like alien's colors shifted rapidly through patterns Yang guessed meant distress. Your species deliberately inflicts suffering? Only on those who threaten us, Beak replied calmly. Every human weapon exists because something tried to kill us first. Dr. Song Hai-Young, humanity's chief weapons designer, had prepared a full presentation. As she activated the holographic displays, the alien delegation crowded together like frightened children. These are nuclear warheads, Song explained, showing images of mushroom clouds, adapted for space combat. One of these can destroy a city-sized target. The tree-like alien made a sound like wind through leaves. Yang's translator struggled with the meaning but settled on horror. Kinetic bombardment systems, Song continued, seemingly unaware of the alien's growing distress. We accelerate asteroids. 2 significant fractions of light speed. The impact energy is equivalent to hundreds of nuclear weapons. Chief Constructor Vexstar's forearms wrapped around his body in what Yang recognized as a defensive posture. He turned celestial bodies into weapons? Why not? Song shrugged. Space is full of rocks. We just give them direction and purpose. The real shock came when Song displayed humanity's chemical weapons arsenal. Acids that could eat through any known material. Nanobots designed to disassemble metal structures at the molecular level. Electromagnetic pulse devices that could fry electronic systems across entire star systems. You carry weapons of mass extinction, gasped the four-armed delegate. His voice barely a whisper. Admiral Yang stepped forward, his expression serious. We carry tools of survival. Every weapon in our arsenal was developed in response to a threat. Humans didn't become warriors by choice, we became warriors by necessity. The cultural exchange that followed was unlike anything either species had experienced. The aliens showed humans their technology shields that could deflect energy weapons. Faster-than-light communication systems, power sources that tapped into the fabric of space itself. In return, humans taught concepts the peaceful galaxy had never imagined. Captain Ru Dongmin led the tactical training sessions in the shipyard's combat simulators. He stood before a mixed audience of human officers and alien observers, explaining ideas that made the peaceful species uncomfortable. Follow programming, Ru explained, manipulating a holographic battle display. They expect rational behavior, optimal moves, efficient tactics, logical responses. We're going to be deliberately irrational. He showed them the Kobayashi Maru scenario, a no-win situation that humans had been using to train officers for decades. Sometimes the only way to win is to break the rules, cheat, lie, sacrifice everything for a small advantage. The aliens struggled with these concepts. When Major Seo Young-ho explained how humans had once used scorched earth tactics, burning their own cities to deny resources to invaders, several delegates became physically ill. You destroy your own creations? Asked a crystalline being whose voice chimed like breaking glass. If it stops the enemy, yes. Seo replied matter-of-factly. Better to rule over ashes than be enslaved in paradise. But slowly the aliens began to understand. They watched human marines practice boarding actions, storming mock-up devourer ships with brutal efficiency. They observed human pilots training in impossible maneuvers that would kill most species from the GI forces alone. Dr. Kim Yansu, human psychologist, worked with alien scientists to understand devourer behavior patterns. They're machines, she explained to a gathering of council researchers. They don't adapt beyond their programming, but humans adapt constantly. We learn. From every fight, every loss, every mistake. The aliens provided quantum computer systems that could process battlefield data in real time. Humans taught them how to use that data for maximum psychological impact, how to target enemy formations to create panic, how to time attacks for maximum disruption. Commander Park Chan-woo worked with alien engineers to modify human weapons for space combat. Missile systems that could operate in vacuum. Kinetic weapons that used alien gravity manipulators for impossible accuracy. Energy. Shields adapted to protect against devourer harvesting beams. The combination was terrifying and beautiful. Alien elegance merged with human brutality. The peaceful galaxy's greatest technologies powered by the Death World's most ruthless tactics. Captain Kim Hae. One commanded one of the new hybrid warships, sleek alien hull design wrapped around human weapon systems. Her crew was half human marines and half alien technicians, learning to work together despite their vastly different natures. It's like teaching philosophers to be warriors, she reported to Yang during one of their planning sessions. They understand the theory, but they've never had to kill to survive. Yang nodded, watching through the viewports as the combined fleet took shape. Human destroyers bristling with weapons floated alongside graceful alien cruisers.
The ships
Looked wrong together, brutal efficiency next to artistic beauty. But they worked. The aliens provided speed and shields. Humans provided firepower and tactics. Together, they had created something the galaxy had never seen: a fleet designed not just to fight, but to win at any cost. 3 months after arriving at the alien shipyard, Admiral Young stood on his bridge as the combined fleet prepared to depart. 500 ships from a dozen species, all under human tactical command. It was the largest military force in galactic history. All ships report ready for hyperspace jump, announced Captain Lee Min-young from the navigation station. Yang looked around his bridge. Human officers worked alongside alien crew members, their differences forgotten in the face of their shared mission. They carried the hopes of 47 civilizations and the promise of one. "Take us to war," Yang ordered. The fleet vanished into hyperspace, carrying humanity's message to the devourers. They had made a fatal mistake. They had threatened a Death World species adopted family, and Death Worlders never forgave. They never forgot. And they never, ever gave up. The Kepler system was dying before their eyes. Admiral Young Soon-jo gripped the rails of his command bridge as the tactical display showed horror beyond imagination. The gas giant Jupiter 7, which had sparkled blue and white just hours ago, was now a skeleton of its former self. Mechanical nightmares swarmed around it like metallic vultures, their harvesting arms tearing chunks of matter from the planet and feeding it into processing chambers that glowed with hellish light. "Dear God," whispered Commander Osubin, watching. "The readings? They're eating an entire planet." Each devourer was massive, the size of a human city, but moving with the fluid grace of a living predator. Tentacle-like arms sprouted from their hulls, each one capable of crushing a battleship. Their surfaces pulsed with energy conduits that fed the stolen matter into construction bays where new machines were being born. "Contact in 28 minutes, reported Captain Lee Soo-young from the tactical station. Her voice was steady, but Young could see her hands shaking as she tracked the enemy formation. "Devourer fleet consists of ... Jesus, sir. Over 300 individual units." Young studied the formation through his scope. The machines moved in perfect coordination like a school of metal fish. No wasted motion, no unnecessary communication. Pure efficiency. Behind the human fleet, the Galactic Council's command ship. Observed at a safe distance, Young could imagine the alien admirals watching their displays, expecting the humans to follow civilized warfare protocols. Maintain distance. Exchange energy fire. Retreat when shields failed. They had no idea what was coming. "All ships, this is Yang," the Admiral broadcast on the fleet-wide channel. His voice carried to every human vessel scattered across the system. "These machines think they understand warfare. They think combat is about efficiency and logic. They're about to learn why Earth is called a death world." Yang paused, looking around at his bridge crew. These were his people warriors forged in the crucible of a planet that had tried to kill them since birth. Execute Death World Protocol 1. What happened next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. The human fleet didn't advance in formation like civilized species. Instead, they scattered like a flock of birds disturbed by a predator, spreading across the system in patterns that looked completely random. The Devourers paused, their sensors trying to understand this chaotic movement. Their programming had been designed to counter rational tactics, not whatever madness the humans were attempting. Then, the first wave hit. Captain Moon Jae-soon commanded the destroyer Busan, one of humanity's smallest warships, is the Devourer. Formation tried to adjust to the human scatter pattern. Moon did something that violated every rule of space combat. He accelerated directly at the largest enemy cluster. Ramming speed, Moon shouted to his crew. All hands prepare for impact. The Busan screamed through space, its hull glowing from atmospheric friction as it dove through the Devourer formation. Moon's gunners fired everything they had: missiles, kinetic rounds, energy beams, not at specific targets, but into the densest concentration of enemies. They're going to collide with their own forces, gasped an alien observer aboard the Council command ship. Colonel Han Manesio, serving as liaison between human and alien forces, watched the tactical display with professional interest. No, he replied calmly. Captain Moon is using controlled collision vectors. We call it threading the needle. It's a technique human pilots have been perfecting since the first dogfights. The Busan punched through the Devourer formation like a bullet through glass, its wake filled with explosions as damaged machines collided with each other. Moon's ship emerged on the far side, battered but intact, having created a gap that 3 human cruisers immediately exploited. But the real shot came from Commander Shin, the one aboard the frigate Mokpo. Her ship had taken heavy damage from Devourer. Harvesting beams, its hull breached in a dozen places. Any sane commander would have retreated to fight another day. Instead, Shin activated her ship's self-destruct sequence and grappled with the nearest Devourer. All crew to escape pods, she ordered calmly. Reactor overload in 30 seconds. Da-da-da-da-da. Yang watched the tactical display as the Mokpo's reactor went critical. The explosion vaporized both ships and sent shockwaves through the Devourer formation. 3 more machines were caught in the blast, their hulls cracking like eggshells. Acceptable losses, Yang reported coldly as debris scattered across space. He meant it. Every human commander understood that sometimes the mission required sacrifice. The Devourers tried to adapt, but their programming couldn't comprehend enemies who treated their own destruction as a tactical option. When Captain Eugenio's ship Soul lost its shields, instead of retreating, he rammed it directly into a Devourer harvester. Crew evacuation complete, you reported over the comm as his ship tore through the machine's hull. Tell my wife, kept my promise. The Soul's nuclear reactor breached inside the Devourer, destroying both vessels. But you sacrifice created a debris field that disrupted the machine's formation, allowing 2 human battleships to concentrate fire on isolated targets. But humans didn't just fight with courage and sacrifice. They fought with their minds. Major Kim So-hee commanded the intelligence vessel Daegu, staying back from the main battle to analyze enemy behavior. As the fight raged, her computers recorded every Devourer movement, every communication pulse, every tactical decision. Sir, she reported to Yang, I'm detecting quantum entanglement signatures. The Devourers are using instantaneous communication across their entire fleet. Dr. Park Yunel, the fleet's chief scientist, studied the data from her laboratory. Aboard Yang's flagship, they're all connected, she mused. Then disrupting that connection should cause chaos in their coordination. Working frantically, Park's team developed quantum jammers devices that could interfere with the Devourer's network.
Ow.
The first test came during the second engagement. 3 days later, Lieutenant Commander Jo Hae-ana commanded the electronic warfare ship Gwangju. As the human fleet engaged a smaller Devourer patrol, Jo activated her jammers and watched the enemy formation dissolve into confusion. It's working, she reported excitedly. Their coordination is breaking down. But Jo wasn't satisfied with just jamming their communications. She had been Earth's best computer hacker before joining the space fleet, and old habits died hard. As the battle raged around her, Jo attempted something that would have been impossible against biological enemies. She hacked into the Devourer network. I'm in, Jo announced, her fingers flying over her keyboard as she penetrated layers of alien programming. These machines have individual identity codes. If I can alter one? Yang watched in amazement as one of the devourers suddenly turned on its companions, its harvesting arms tearing into nearby machines. The hacked devourer fought with mechanical precision, but now that precision was turned against its own kind. Outstanding. Work, Commander, Yang said. Can you do it again? Give me time, sir. Each machine has different security protocols, but I'm learning their language. The alien observers aboard the council ship watched in stunned silence as humans turned devourer technology against itself. These weren't just warriors, they were apex predators who had learned to turn every disadvantage into an opportunity. Over the following weeks, the pattern repeated. Each battle taught humanity something new about their mechanical enemies. Dr. Kim. Youngman discovered that devourers had a backup communication system using gravitational waves. Captain Lee Dongwook learned that their hulls had weak points. Where harvesting arms connected to the main body, the devourers adapted to, upgrading their defenses and changing their tactics. But adaptation was humanity's greatest strength. Every defeat became a lesson. Every casualty provided data for the next engagement, as the human fleet prepared for the final push toward Devourer home space. Yang addressed his forces one last time. The holographic display showed the faces of 500 ship commanders, men and women who had left Earth to fight monsters in the darkness between stars. My fellow warriors, Yang began, his voice carrying across the fleet. For 3 months we have fought an enemy that the galaxy believed was unstoppable. We have lost ships, lost friends, lost people we loved. But we have learned something the Devourers cannot understand. He paused, looking at the faces of his commanders. They were scarred by battle, hardened by loss, but their eyes burned with determination. We are not just another species. The children of a world that taught us to hunt the hunters. We are the apex predators of our galaxy, and these machines made the fatal mistake of threatening our adopted family. Yang's voice rose, filled with the fury of a species that had never learned to surrender. Let's remind them why the galaxy fears Deathworlders. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's promise into the heart of enemy territory. Somewhere in the darkness, the Devourers were about to learn what happened when you declared war on Earth's children. Admiral Yang Sun-ko stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring through the massive viewport at the most beautiful sight in the universe. Earth hung before them like a blue marble suspended in velvet darkness, its white clouds swirling over green continents and deep blue oceans. Home, the death world that had forged humanity into the galaxy's most dangerous species. It's hard to believe something so beautiful could create something so deadly, whispered Commander Osu-ben, standing beside him. Yang smiled grimly. Beauty and danger often go together. Earth taught us that lesson long ago. 6 months had passed since humanity's first contact with the Galactic Council. 6 months of war, learning, and adaptation. Now the largest military fleet in galactic history floated at the edge of the solar system. Over 800 ships from 47 species, all under human command. Sir, reported Captain Kong Min-young from the sensor station, her voice tight. With excitement, long-range sensors are picking up massive hyperspace signatures. The Devourers are coming. Yang felt his heart race. The plan they had spent months preparing was about to be tested. It was insane by galactic standards. Instead of meeting the enemy in empty space like civilized species, humanity had deliberately led the Devourers home, to Earth, to the world that had taught them that everything could be turned into a weapon. How many? Yang asked. Over 2,000 individual units, sir. It's their entire remaining fleet. Yang nodded. The Devourers had finally committed everything to one massive assault. They thought they were coming to destroy humanity's homeworld. They had no idea they were flying into the galaxy's most elaborate trap. All stations, this is Admiral Yang. He broadcast to the fleet. The enemy is approaching. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth today. We're fighting for every peaceful world in the galaxy. Make them count. On Earth's surface, billions of people watched the skies through telescopes and cameras. Children pressed their faces against windows, knowing that somewhere above them, their brothers and sisters were preparing to defend their world. Major Lee Hyojin coordinated the defense from Earth's orbital command station. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored systems that had never been designed for warfare. Asteroid mining platforms that now carried nuclear warheads, solar power collectors that could focus the sun's energy into devastating beams, weather control satellites that could summon storms on command. All defensive platforms report ready, Lee announced. The asteroid belt mining stations have been converted to kinetic weapons. Each rock is now a guided missile. Dr. Kim Young-soo, Earth's top astrophysicist, had spent months turning their entire solar system into a weapon. The plan is simple, he had explained to Yang during their final briefing. Earth isn't just our home, it's our fortress. Everything here serves us. The sun, the planets, the asteroids, even our own space junk. We're going to use it all. Devourers emerged from hyperspace like a plague of metal locusts. Their ships were bigger than before, adapted from previous battles with humanity. They had learned to expect human tactics, ramming attacks, suicide runs, electronic warfare. They came prepared for another conventional battle. They weren't prepared for what humanity had really planned. Enemy fleet entering the outer system, reported Captain Kang. They're maintaining formation, heading directly for Earth. Yang watched the tactical display as 2,000 mechanical nightmares advanced toward his homeworld. Each devourer was the size of a city, bristling with harvesting arms and weapon systems. Together, they represented enough firepower to crack a planet. Let them come closer, Yang ordered. Wait for my signal. The devourers pressed inward, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They had adapted to human tactics, upgraded their defenses, prepared for ramming attacks and electronic warfare. But they had made one critical mistake, they thought, like machines, not like the apex predators of a death world. Enemy fleet passing Jupiter, reported the sensor station. Still advancing, Yang waited. The plan required perfect timing. Too early, and the devourers might escape. Too late, and they might overwhelm Earth's defenses. Enemy fleet entering the asteroid belt, Captain Kong announced. Now, Yang commanded. Execute solar protocol, Captain No-Sung-won, commanding. Earth's solar monitoring station activated systems that had never been used for warfare. Across the sun's surface, magnetic field generators that normally studied solar activity suddenly went into overdrive. The sun erupted. Massive solar flares, triggered by human technology, exploded outward from the star's surface. Waves of electromagnetic energy raced across the solar system at the speed of light, carrying enough power to fry every electronic system in their path. The first wave hit the SH Devourer fleet like an invisible tsunami. Machines that had survived countless battles suddenly went dark as their circuits overloaded. Communication networks collapsed. Navigation systems failed. Weapons went offline. Direct hits across their entire formation, reported Major Lee from Orbital Command. Enemy coordination is breaking down, but the Devourers were adaptable. Within minutes, backup systems came online. Hardened electronics began restoring their functions. They pressed forward, damaged, but still deadly. Yang had expected this. Phase 2, asteroid bombardment, commence. Colonel Shin Ruyang commanded the Asteroid Belt Defense Network from the mining station's Ceres base. Around her, automated systems that had spent decades harvesting space rocks for raw materials suddenly switched to a very different purpose. All mining platforms? This is Shin, she broadcast. You are weapons free. Target the largest concentrations of enemy ships. Across the asteroid belt, thousands of space rocks suddenly accelerated. Guidance systems installed over the past months locked onto Devourer ships and fired mining charges that had been converted into thrusters. Each asteroid became a kinetic missile weighing millions of tons. The first impacts were devastating. Devourers that had survived solar flares found themselves smashed by rocks moving at incredible speeds. The machines tried to shoot down the incoming asteroids, but there were too many. For every rock they destroyed, 10 more kept coming. Cascading damage throughout their formation, reported Captain Kong, watching the tactical display with amazement. They're colliding with each other. The Devourer's perfect formation collapsed into chaos as damaged ships spun out of control, colliding with their neighbors. But still they came, adapting their tactics, using their own destroyed vessels. As Shields, Yang smiled coldly. They hadn't seen anything yet. Phase 3, he announced. Deploy the Earth defense grid. This was the plan's masterstroke, born from humanity's greatest embarrassment. For decades, Earth's orbit had been cluttered with space junk, defunct. Satellites, spent rocket stages, fragments from orbital collisions. The peaceful galaxy had looked down on humans for polluting their own space. They were about to learn why that pollution was actually the galaxy's most effective defensive system. Captain Park Si-young commanded the orbital cleanup crews that had spent months fitting guidance systems to every piece of space debris around Earth. Old satellites, broken solar panels, discarded fuel tanks. Everything that floated in Earth's orbital space had been turned into a weapon. Grid activation. In 3.2.1. Park announced suddenly. The space around Earth came alive. Thousands of pieces of junk began moving with purpose, their small thrusters pushing them into collision courses with approaching devourers. The machines found themselves fighting not just ships, but an entire ecosystem of weaponized garbage. Defunct weather satellite launched 50 years ago, smashed through a devourer's hull at 8 kilometers per second. A broken space telescope, guided by basic navigation software, punched through another machine's weapon systems. Even individual bolts and screws, accelerated by tiny thrusters, became deadly projectiles in the vacuum of space. They can't target everything, Park reported, watching her screens with grim satisfaction. There's too much debris. Every piece of junk we ever put in orbit is now a guided missile. The Devourers, designed for efficient conquest of dead worlds, couldn't comprehend fighting an enemy that had turned their entire home system into a weapon. Their programming had no protocols for dealing with attacks from weather, satellites, and space garbage. But the final blow came from Earth itself. Captain Park Si-young led a squadron of atmospheric fighter ships, designed to operate both in space and within Earth's atmosphere. As the surviving Devourers approached Earth's orbital space, Park's fighters dove through the planet's atmosphere, using gravity wells and atmospheric friction to accelerate beyond anything the machines had calculated. Atmospheric attack run commencing, Park announced, her fighter screaming through Earth's upper atmosphere. Behind her, 100 more pilots used their planet's own gravity as a slingshot, emerging from atmospheric dives at impossible speeds. The Devourers tried to intercept them, but the human fighters were moving too fast, accelerated by forces the machines couldn't predict. One by one, the surviving mechanical nightmares fell to attacks that came from their target planet's own atmosphere. As the last Devourer ship exploded in Earth's orbital space, Admiral Yang opened communications to the Galactic Council fleet that had watched the battle from a safe distance. "This is Admiral Yang of the Earth's Defense Forces," he announced, his voice carrying across space to 47 alien species. "The Devourer threat has been neutralized. The galaxy is safe." In the silence that followed, Yang could imagine the alien admirals staring at their displays in shock. They had just watched a single star system destroy the greatest threat their galaxy had ever known, not through superior technology or overwhelming numbers, but through the simple application of death world thinking. Everything could be a weapon. Everything could be turned against an enemy. Even space junk days later as rescue ships collected. Survivors and scientists studied Devourer wreckage. The alien delegates finally understood what they had unleashed. Humanity hadn't just won a war, they had demonstrated that. Deathworld species didn't just adapt to hostile environments, they turned everything around them into weapons. The galaxy would never be the same. Peace-loving species looked at their own worlds with new eyes, wondering what weapons they might create if they had to. But they also slept better, knowing that somewhere in the void, On a blue world that had forged the most dangerous guardians imaginable, humanity stood ready to defend their new interstellar family, because that's what Deathworlders do. They protect those who cannot protect themselves, using whatever tools their harsh world has given them. The stars were safe, and Earth's children were watching. The end.